So today I was supposed to get a tattoo done. I was gonna add on to this guy, but the artist got sick, and I got an email from like at 8 o'clock in the morning saying that, hey, I gotta go to the hospital. So I guess it's pretty bad. I hope he's okay. So, you know, being that it's Monday and I took the day off in order to get that done, I ain't got shit to do. So I figured, what the hell, I'll work on the motorcycle. So I ran to the scrapyard and I got myself a piece of bar here for free. Just went to the free bin and found a piece of tubing and said, what the hell, that's good for a fender mount. So what I'm going to try and do is something that usually never works very well, and that's bend this with my vise and just a butane. So if I had an actual oxyacetylene torch, this would go way better. But the last time I tried to do this, I actually broke all the mounts in my vise. I redid all those mounts, so I mean, let's see. Let's see if this doesn't completely destroy my vise and if I can get a good bend out of this thing. I'm going to keep its length pretty long right now because I want to have a nice even bend, not like so much like a 90-degree thing where I would like, you know, like if it was super short and I'd like try and hammer it down to get that curve. I'm going to try and get the most curve I can out of this thing and then just basically cut the ends off to get the right length. And hopefully that'll work. Maybe, maybe not. I have no idea. Probably won't, but let's see. Yeah, that's not going to work. This thing is way, way, way too thick. And I just don't have the right tools to do the job, so I mean, at least this didn't cost me anything. I can save it for later on something else. I don't know if there's something that I need to use some straight tubing with. So that's not going to work. I really would need a tubing bender in order to get that job done right, but I don't have that. So I don't know what I'm going to do. So actually I was looking at this again, and there might actually be a inelegant but simple solution to my problems, and that would be to just make a just get a bung to make up the difference here. Now bear with me. First of all, this little guy down here that I was using previously to use as a lower fender mount, because I'm moving the fender up, this is no longer necessary, so that's going to get cut off. And basically, if I wanted to, and this solution would be not my favorite, because, you know, it's like, I think it'd be kind of ugly, but what I could do is just move that bar from down here and just weld it right there. And that's it, pretty much. Cut the fender and realign it. So that's, you know, that's an idea. Because then I would be able to get the fender like closer to the wheel or closer to the seat, and, you know, have that nice clearance I'm looking for. Now that's definitely something to consider. But the thing is if you look at it from here, and actually let me move the camera so you can see easier if this is possible. Yeah, sure, I'll straddle the camera, why not? If you look at it from here, grab this stupid thing, god damn it. Yeah, if you look at it, so like if I bring it to the point where, you know, I have enough clearance that the seat doesn't bottom out on the rear fender, I actually have probably about 2 inches to make up. Now 2 inches is not that not that much for me to want to actually cut off that bar and weld it right there, because basically, like, here's the bar for the seat stays, and then it would basically just be a little bit, and then there's another bar, and that's just not going to look all that good. So what I think is that I should just get a bung and just weld one right there, or maybe two, because I do have the two that are on top of this fender right here that are no longer necessary. Probably just take those two and just weld it there, and have two mounts holding the fender in place. And that might not be a bad idea. You know, it'll look a little better for sure. It'll be pretty easy. So I'm gonna have to, because that'll be about it right there. But I just have to make sure that, you know, I don't have. I'm never gonna run into the situation where I'm bottoming out on the rear fender. But that might work. That actually might work. Then I can just basically have it like that. And then that actually won't look too bad. I'm bobbing the fender more. More bobbing. Let me get out my measuring tape and see what I'm working with here. As far as, you know, if I need to order a new bung or if I can just kind of use what I already have. Because I actually might have another bung lying around in my toolbox that I could use, but I need two of them. I'd like to use two of them. I think it'll look better than just one, but I was just using one before, and that worked just fine. So who knows? Alright, let's take a look here. This bung right here is about 1.25 inches. So the bungs that I have that I can just cut off, excuse me, 1.25 inches. So let's see what 1.25 inches looks like from here. 1.25 inches will make it right about there. It'll give me, yeah, so let's, yeah, so that's like right there. So I'll just hold my finger in place. Or is there a way I can mark? Well, I'll just eyeball it. It's about there. So that'll get me right about there, which I think is actually too close. Yeah, it's too close. 1.25 inches will get me about there. Yeah. Yeah, that's too close. Doesn't hardly have any, yeah. So if I want to do it that way, I need to get probably a 2-inch bung. That'll give me enough, because 2 inches gets me right there. So let's just eyeball it. That's 2 inches, and that's much better. That gives me enough clearance. Yeah. Yeah, that's much better. Alright. Let me see if I have a 2-inch bung lying around. I actually thought about it, and I actually have another option I could use, and that is to cut off the stay that's already here and just move it back a little bit, which would do a few things. First of all, it would make it so I'm sitting further back, which is nice. The other thing it would do is it would allow me to realign these posts so that it's like with the posts on the seat and the posts on here, that they would line up exactly straight up and down, which would make it, you know, less likely that a spring's gonna fly out or something like that. And then also what it would do is it would allow me to use a shorter bung. And it's probably the bungs that I already have, which are, you know, like I said, 1.25 inches. So that's not a bad idea, actually. Just cut this off, move it back, and realign everything. Because the furthest back I can, the pivot that's on here, there's two, obviously like two bolts that you could slide back and forth. But honestly, you only really need one. And if I use the pivot in the, like right there, it puts me at about right there, which is pretty damn good. Because obviously, like once I have an inch spring on there, it'll put me about there. Or actually, no, it'll put me a little bit lower because it's still like resting on those posts there. Once the posts are moved back, it would actually be a little bit easier. So that's an option. That's a good option, actually. Just move myself back a little bit. Realign. It would basically mean that all that grinding that I did the other day is meaningless. But it's okay, it doesn't matter really. It's an idea. Because that'll put me, because now I have the ability to really like get this thing, if I wanted to, go all the way back there on the pivot. But then I'm running into real clearance issues with the rear fender. But that would make it so I'm using a smaller bung, which I think looks better. You know, there's just not this big post coming out. It's a lot, everything's like tighter, and makes it so the seat springs align better. And I sit further back. Screw it. Let's cut. Well, let's try some welding. So I cut out the bit here. The seat stay, and I also got the one at the bottom as well. Here it is. So I'm going to try my best. So I don't have the right sort of clamps and things to make sure that this is held exactly in place and leveled and all that stuff. So what I'm going to have to do is just basically hold it in place where I think it will be about right, tack, and then be able to move. I'll hopefully be able to move the bar around with just that one tack, and then once I'm happy with the level and the alignment and the space and all that stuff, then I can pretty much just put another tack on and then finish welding if I'm happy. So that's how I got to go about this, because once again I am without proper tools, which is a very, very common thing with me, I suppose. So I got the seat lined up basically where I want it, and I'm going to try and align it about where I want to on the seat, and it's about there. Okay, so let's try it.
I believe it's because they're fucking hanging out.
Try and eyeball this a little bit, and I'm pretty certain that that's going to be okay. So just hold that into place, make sure that the tubing is not over the lip or anything like that. Eyeball it. It kind of looks straight enough, but it's definitely good enough for me to put a tack on it. Down we go. Oops, too far. God damn it. Ah, fuck, my helmet's on this. Just when I had this right, too. I think my fucking helmet's broke. Hang on. Oh, that's better. Alright, let's do that again, because my helmet messed me up. There. That's where I want it. It's there. I have a little bit of wiggle room because I can always just move the pivot back or whatever, but that's pretty much where I want it. Okay. Oops. That's about right. Yes, I do know that this is janky, and yes, I know it's not optimal, but I really don't have another choice. And I got a little itty bitty tack on there. I can position this guy around a little bit. The level's good. I think that's okay. Let's see here. Okay, it's definitely favoring that side a little bit, so I'll just there. Here. A little bit too much forward. There. Oops. I'm gonna say there is probably pretty good. I can always just snap off the. Tack again if I don't like it, but it seems about right. Okay. Okay, so looking at the position, that looks about right. The tack in there. Nope. Uneven. Alright, you get the drill. I gotta go back and forth on this a little bit. Okay, so I got it pretty well tacked into place, and I honestly think that I'm gonna go with the 2-inch springs again. Thought about it, and you know, 1 inch is okay. But I mean, if the whole purpose of me doing this is to get, you know, is to be comfortable, then going for 1 probably isn't gonna help that much. It's probably gonna be a little bit harsher, or maybe I'm just kind of overthinking things slightly. But there's another reason. There's about, I want to say, 1 inch of clearance between the fender and the tire now, and I actually rather like that a lot. It's nice and tight. But the one thing that it does, if you could see, is it limits the amount of wiggle room for the seat to hit the fender, and that's what I wanted. You know, I wanted nice tight clearance and such. But if I switch to the 1 inches, which, let me see if I could just use one here. If I switch to the 1 inch, see, it's much tighter. So we'll just use that as an example. So there's a 1-inch set up here, and that's about where the fender is going to be. You'll see there's not too much room between the rear seat and the fender, and that is a problem. It is something that needs to be considered because there's probably about a 1/4 inch, maybe an inch of play when the seat compresses and such. So, you know, it's something to consider, something to think about. And to be honest with you, well, it does look, I gotta be honest, it does look better with 1-inchers rather than 2. But, that's my 2-inch. Did I put my belt work today, Mike?